good evening and welcome to UPfront. Today, we will break down the seemingly complex issues surrounding some 66 million US dollars this state, or a small section, the educated folks at SSNIT some time ago decided to use for a setup, an automation process, which has actually become very controversial. We will tell you how the sum jumped from 34 million as a contra sum to now 72 million, and why we're still having this SSNIT the way it is today when we come back from this break. So you're welcome back. My name is Raymond Alqua, and today I brought you the man who now has to clean up the act. His business is to unravel, maybe with a lot of us in this country, understand what's really happening with the people's money devoted to an exercise, the intent for which is wonderful, but somehow got bloated into proportions that many say can keep Capital Bank in business. The Director General of the Social Security and National Insurance Trust is the very man, and one man I respect a lot, Dr. John Ofori-Tinkoran. Doctor, welcome to UPfront.
Thank you very much.
I hope you are doing well.
I'm doing good.
You are a man under a lot of pressure and fire this time around. Of course, for a deal you didn't put together. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel I should step up to the challenge and try and do good for the Ghanaian people and do good for the SSNIT, the stakeholders of SSNIT, which is, in my view, the contributors and the pensioners.
Now, would you have preferred a different position, mindful of what's happening? If you had the opportunity of choosing and you knew this could be the current state of affairs, would you have preferred a different position?
They say if wishes were horses, you know.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Interesting. Now, I want us to start from the beginning. And the bigger conversation we'll have today is, what are you really going to do to improve the lot of pensioners and make SSNIT better? But there's a smaller conversation that's ballooned big time, and that's to do with what happened to the plan to do automation. Now, I've read the documents covering this particular engagement. The intent was that SSNIT needed to step up the game. Full automation of all of the 55 sites across the country. What happened to this wonderful idea becoming what's like a monster many see today?
Well, I think, like you said before, it was a good idea. It's a good idea to automate. SSNIT couldn't go about its business the old way. It had to, come up with the times. And so it was a good project because prior to that, there was a legacy system that was being used. So this operational business suite, as it's called, was supposed to be to improve upon what already existed. So the project was conceptualized and went through tender.
Okay.
Okay. And, awarded. And I think the problems came in the execution of the project.
Okay, I'll come to that. To the ordinary person, when we say the intent to automate the activities and the core operations of SSNIT, what does it really mean?
So let me give you an example. Somebody goes on pension, and then they say, I want to get my benefits. So you walk to a SSNIT office, you lodge your benefits claim. If everything is being done manually, it'll take long. It'll be like, okay, come today, come tomorrow, bring this today. Oh, we are short of this, so bring it tomorrow, and so on and so forth. So a pension claim lodge could take several months. Sometimes could take years. So nowadays, with computers, if set up right, something that, will take you months to do can be, the process can be shortened and made more efficient.
Okay.
So using computers in our business process, it's a good thing, and it's supposed to deliver value, convenience, to the customer, which in this case is a pensioner. For example, you sit here, you're a contributor, you want to be able to go on internet and look up your statement.
Okay.
To see whether even your employer has paid for you this month or not. You know, previously you would have to go to your SSNIT branch and go and queue up, depending on how many people showed up that day, and get your questions.
Wait for the order to be given, wait for them to deliver it a couple of days, sometimes even weeks.
Correct. And sometimes we are not lucky and you get a bad attendant, you know, lots of things happen. But now you can sit in the comfort of your own home and be able to transact business online. That's a good thing. Okay? So all that automation is good. And, you know, like I said, it's a good concept, but, you know, if this thing was not, didn't cost the millions of dollars that we are talking about, we wouldn't be here today. So I think that the issue is, was it value for money? In other words, could you have done it cheaply? I don't think anybody is doubting that
the intent behind this particular operation is good or not.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll take a break now. I'll be back after this short break, and Dr. John Ofori-Tinkwan, who is the Director General of SSNIT, will walk us through what really happened from the horse's own mouth in this particular case. You welcome back to our front, and we are with the Director General of SSNIT. We are seeking to unravel and break it down for you to appreciate exactly what happened with the now $72 million operating system, automation system that's generated a lot of brouhaha in this country. Doc, you're welcome back.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're at the point that we're getting to appreciate the rationale behind this, and there seems to be some agreement that it was very good to automate and get efficient systems where, I mean, something noble to do in the first place. So we understand that the contract price, as was stated at the commencement of the contract, was $34 million. How did they get to $72 million?
Okay, so like I said, when it comes to the cost and all that, the entity that is doing a review, you know, we've commissioned the review, right? Okay, which is Pricewaterhouse. They will look at it and then they would itemize it and add up, and we will get a number. But having said that, I think that the price escalation came in the execution of the project. So for example, the project, let's say you bought a car, right? And then as you drive in the car, at some point you realize that you have to change a tire. Then you reach into your toolbox and you find out that you don't have a spanner. So you need a spanner, right? And so you go to the guy who sold you the car, he says, I don't have a spanner. And he says, well, when you were buying the car, you didn't tell me that you were going to need a spanner. I'm just trying to be simplistic.
Okay.
And so if I have to give you a spanner to be able to do what you're asking me to do now, you have to pay for it. So in a sense, you have to tell me, you should have told me everything that you needed in specific detail so that I could have priced all of that in ex ante, right? And then there wouldn't be any price escalation. I'll just give you a very simplistic example. So let's come back to our case. So the software that was procured was supposed to be something that was existing. I think that is how they advertised it. Something that was existing that could do pretty much a lot of the things that we were looking to do, but to be customized to suit our environment, to take care of the idiosyncrasies of the scheme that we're running. And so there is supposed to be some customization of that software. Okay. In that process, if there is anything else that you need that you didn't state, it constitutes a change. And that change is billable.
Okay.
Right? So along the line, there are so many of these changes that came along. And we call them change requests. And all those are documented.
Okay, I get you. Now, I've seen some of these change requests. Right. Now for the change, because we didn't, one, know what we wanted in the first place, or at a point in time, we changed our minds about what we wanted to do.
You know, I have asked the same question.
You are asking the question?
No, I have asked the same question to the people that were running this project that I went to meet.
And what's the response?
And the response sort of like, okay, some we did not anticipate, right? And then the others border on, well, we changed our mind because the law changed. And so there were new things that we had to do. But, you know, sometimes I guess you have to ask the question that for the things that are not specific to law, things that relate to, let's say, our environment, whether, you know, we needed to cater for so many users at a time, okay? Or meaning whether it was 100 users at a time or it's supposed to be 150. I think in those kinds of things, proper engineering, proper project scoping, right? Yeah. Could have anticipated a lot of those things and incorporated it.
I've seen the contract document. There are a lot of groupings that worked on this particular contract, right? From the technical level to the contract level. The tender bidding process had as many as 4 people working at different stages. Was it not foreseeable to them that these changes or the actual scope should have been different?
You know, it's interesting you mentioned that. But what you also find is that somewhere along the execution, the people changed. So some people who started didn't finish, and some people were moved. So everybody, you can't quite get who says, I'm responsible for this, I'm responsible for that.
Do you sense that this was deliberately done with the intent to necessarily defraud, cause financial loss, or it was just the capacity of the people which was not up to the task, from your gut feeling?
I mean, I couldn't have any basis to hazard a guess. You and I were not there.
I get the point, but is it a standard practice in SSNIT that such procurements, such determinations would be this haphazard?
Well, you know, I've been at SSNIT for only, what, 4 months? So as to whether it is a standard practice, I don't know. I can only go by documents. And I think prima facie, all the documents look like everything was done according to, you know, the books. I think that there are some things that one can question on the face of the document as to whether certain things should have been kicked back to board or prior approval should have been sought or something like that. But
yes,
you know,
there's a question I'm asking connected to that. When all of these changes were happening, I do not see in any of the documents the role of the board in this. Did the board approve the various changes?
A statutory body that is there looking at this thing. And in the PwC review, there is a component, a part of their review where they are supposed to be reviewing processes, right? Processes, internal controls, procedures. So I think that, you know, if we're paying them money to do that, shouldn't be
let me be clear.
that.
At what point did we know that we needed this kind of intervention? At what point did we require PwC to come in? At what point did you realize there was something wrong with the entire deal?
You know, this OBS project and its costs, associated costs, had been in the news even before I got there. I mean, they had been on various radio shows and stuff. So I guess when I went to SSNIT, I also saw some of the bills that were coming to me. And so I started questioning things. And my board chairman also had the feeling that they, as a new board, needed to know what kind of SSNIT they were inheriting, they were taking over.
Okay.
So it became clear that we needed a baseline review. We needed to draw a baseline.
Okay.
And so if you are going to invite somebody to come and do a review, then they have to review everything. Now, this OBS has come into, into sharp focus because EOCO started investigating that particular project.
And when did EOCO come in?
EOCO was there before I got there.
As in, when did EOCO start the investigation?
Yes, I said I assumed this seat on March 31st. And I think EOCO, in fact, when I got there, EOCO had already sent notices to SSNIT that they were doing an investigation.
Do we know the scope of the investigation the EOCO is doing currently?
Oh yeah, EOCO does a lot of things. I mean, I get subpoenas about OBS. I get subpoenas about people that have been paid contributions, establishments that have been paid contributions.
Okay.
So I get subpoenas about all kinds of stuff.
So there was an understanding that there was something wrong with this deal even before you got in there?
That's correct.
Okay, now let me get this point clear. We are currently talking about 72 million US dollars.
You like that? You seem to like that number.
No, because it is what's the current number now. I mean, is this because there were fresh requests for change orders, or as we speak now, that's the last amount of money you have to spend on this particular system?
Okay, let me say that, that number that we throw around is not really only change requests. I mean, there are other things that creeped in terms of, project creep in terms of let's say we need to buy more smart cards. We need to buy more service because the documents we are digitizing are way too much than we anticipated. So we need more storage.
Okay.
We need more network capacity.
That's operational cost.
Yeah, but it's additional procurement in relation to this project. I mean, at some point...
Were they anticipated?
And that is why I'm saying that I asked the question, didn't you anticipate this? And the answer comes in many forms. Okay, but I think that if the project was properly scoped out, a lot of these things could have been anticipated. There are other problems that came along the way as to when you were migrating data from the legacy system to the new system. Then you got challenges where data fields are not matching up right and so on and so forth. Then you have to hire more staff to come and help in migrating the data. So we ended up, at the end of OBS, we've ended up with about 600 more staff. So than
my understanding of this particular system was to bring efficiency.
Yes.
I.e., lesser number of people, more outputs, and productivity in this particular case.
Yes.
How come you are having more staff?
Logic will tell you that we should be less, but in the process of the execution, in the process of execution, they realized that, oh, we needed more hands to clean up the data.
Okay.
And so contract staff were hired. They finished their contract and they were somehow converted to permanent staff.
How is this system functioning today, if you had to rate it?
I would say that it is not exactly where we want it to be. There are challenges, there are issues.
What does it mean?
What that means is that there are certain modules that are not working right, okay? And then there are certain requirements that certain things that we required that haven't been fully implemented, but we've already paid on it.
I don't understand that.
You don't understand that?
Yes.
What that means is that I ask you to build me a house, and you've put the rafters on, and the roofing sheets are not on, but I've already paid you to put on the roofing sheets.
Was that in the contract?
You know, I don't think the contract explicitly says that I have to pay you everything before you deliver.
I'm asking a question beyond what's currently happening with this 66 million or 72 million.
You
that
like
question, that question is this the only area there's a problem with at SSNIT currently?
Oh, I mean, I would say no. I mean, I think there are issues. We have issues with staffing.
What's the problem specifically?
I think we have staff that that were hired to do certain jobs, and somehow, you know, they got converted to permanency, and it's not clear that the roles that they're occupying right now, they are well suited for it. So we have some square pegs in round holes. We have, you know, just regular public service attitudinal things that...
Yeah, by that question, I meant, are there more scandalous activities within the remit of SSNIT today?
Going on right now?
As in what you came to meet?
I think that's a difficult question for me to answer. I think that as and when we unravel them, you would know about them.
So currently, this is the only one that's outstanding?
I think that for me currently, the issues that I have, the big issues that I have relates to our IT infrastructure.
Okay.
Okay.
Which is on this particular OBS system?
Yeah, the OBS, and then our network systems, our Oracle environment, you know, basically all the, you know, computerization that we embarked on. There are parts of it that are still not working properly, and we have engaged to clean it up.
I've asked this question, but maybe I'll clarify it this way. At what percentage is the current OBS functioning? 80, 90, 100?
That's a difficult question for me to answer, because if, you know, how do I even give you an analog of this? You know, different modules do different things. Yeah. So I don't know whether there is a rating system that puts this module as 50% of it or not. I mean, I think that is a difficult question for me to answer.
Okay, I get your point. Now, let me understand this part. And there are also those who have raised legitimate questions about the SSNIT itself today. The investments that have been done in times past, whether they were the most prudent decisions to make with the people's money. What do you say about these claims?
Okay, so I think that you have to, if you just go by the numbers, right, and you look at the return on assets, right, one could say that, you know, for if SSNIT's money were deployed in, let's say, you know, private equity, if you use that as a benchmark, or you use other pension funds as a benchmark, you know, you could probably say that, okay, maybe SSNIT hasn't done well in recent years, but, you know, I think that you have to step back a bit and look at the environment in which SSNIT has been operating.
Okay, give me a second. I would want to actually play you the tape of Dr. Sedo, former MPRA boss, who has raised questions about the relevance of the SSNIT as an institution currently. He insists it should be shut down. It's no longer fit for purpose, because put in private hands, the money could be put to better use and the operations will be better. We can now listen to him briefly. When we come back, I'll get a response from you on that.
Behind this whole concept is mobilize the money, invest them, expand the economy, create employment opportunity for younger people. because the people who are exiting, what they have contributed is not what they are being paid. It's the contributions of the new people, the joiners, that is effectively used. Now, if you're not able to turn over the initial contributions that you get properly, you will run into problem. What we are all shying away from is the fact that SSNIT is under tremendous pressure to sustain itself. And so, if you are under pressure to sustain yourself, the least you can do is to be prudent in terms of cost. You don't throw money at things that are not productive.
So essentially for you, this clearly is not a prudent use of pension funds.
It is not. It is not. I mean, the figures we are mentioning, certainly it is not. I mean, probably if they got it the first time, fine. But where is the due diligence? You have to make a grievous mistake and try to correct it. Assuming SSNIT is a commercial entity and they have to go and borrow that kind of money, would they behave the way? I don't think so.
What do you think would be the solution to this issue that we're having to deal with?
No, unfortunately, they've made a commitment already. But going into the future, what my suggestion would be is we need courage to execute the reform that was started. In the sense that the complaint was about SSNIT not paying pensioners well enough as compared to Cap 30. And it seemed to be the same issue. Now the reform was to break SSNIT into three, that is tier 1, 2, 3. Unfortunately, again, for us, is to leave the bigger chunk of money in the hands of SSNIT and give only 5% to tier 2. Now, if probably we should be looking at it in the reverse order, leave 5% with SSNIT and give the 13 to tier 2 and reorganize the tier 2, we should be getting better results than what we are doing. We can learn from our neighbors. Now, what Nigeria has done is to collapse their version of SSNIT completely and privatize pension. And it's worked for them so well. So there's a lot we can learn from Nigeria and make our pension system work for us.
You're welcome back. So you heard Dr. Sedo, who is a former NPRA, the NPRA National Pensions Regulatory Authority boss, indicating that from what's going on, we are better off scrapping SSNIT, putting the money in private hands, and let pension be managed by private equities. Let me get to push the question to you. Of course, you're in office now. Do you think it will be a more prudent use of people's money?
Look, I don't think so. You mean to shut it down?
Yes, completely.
No, no. Look, there are benefits currently. There are benefits to SSNIT, right?
Yeah, I get you.
SSNIT, first of all, a lot of the challenges that SSNIT is having, yes, the imprudent use of resources notwithstanding, you have to also realize that SSNIT is now having is a scheme that is maturing. In the past, you had a lot more contributors than pensioners, right? So you had monies to to invest, right? Now, over time, people who started contributing have reached maturity. We've been in business for 52 years.
Yeah.
And so they are retiring. So the pension population is growing, right? So the amount of money that you have for investment is coming down, okay? Hence, the more reason to be very prudent in, the way you spend money and the way you invest. Having said that, let's take the way, the amount of, let's look at the quantums, the amount of money that people are paid. Let's focus on the most vulnerable, okay? People who contribute, who are currently contributing on less than at minimum wage, for example, okay? Right now, the minimum pension, it's 276 cedis per month.
Yeah.
Okay. There are people who are contributing on less than that amount of money, right? And when they retire, they are going to be getting, they will get pensions because there's a flaw in the structure of SNIT, the way the benefits are calculated. There is a flaw, there's a cushion for the most vulnerable. So there is somebody who is being paid more now on pension at the low end than they were in active life on a monthly basis. There is a social insurance thing that is built in there.
Okay, so you believe that because of this social insurance part, if we scrap it, it will be to the disadvantage of extreme poor and people within that category?
Yes, and also let's look at then the secondary benefits, because I always say the primary beneficiaries in the scheme are the pensioners and the contributors. There are secondary beneficiaries, right? Which is the state. The state, we are developing economy. We need to build capital to invest in productive sectors of the economy, right?
Yeah.
So you need long-term capital. So with SNIT, with the SNIT scheme, people contribute money today and they don't get it back till 15 years, right? So at least you've got 15-year money.
But that's the complaint. You talk about productive sectors of the economy. Many believe that the investments that have been done over the period are not really into the productive sectors.
So I'm telling you that for me, the focus of SNIT, I think the primary thing that managers of SNIT have to keep their eyes on is the P&L.
Okay.
Right? I have said, seek ye first the P&L, and most other things shall be added unto you. When we go into any investment, we have to first ask the question, is it profitable? All the secondary issues like, okay, it'll create jobs here and there. Yes, that's fine, but that shouldn't be the primary driver, because I can give you $1 million today, and you can distribute it around and create jobs for 100 or 200 people, wherever, right? If those jobs are not productive, basically the money is going to run out and those jobs are going to disappear, right? And in that sense, you've done two things. You haven't grown the economy. Even the jobs that you thought you were creating, they are not sustainable. But if you invested those in productive ventures that made money first, maybe initially you may have, to make it efficient, you only had to hire 10 people, but then you make profits, you expand, you grow. That's what private people do.
I get your point.
And I think that it's about time SNIT, looked at its investment objectives and focused a little bit more on the P&L.
So I understand that we are actually also live on Joy 99.7 as we speak, so we can welcome our radio audience at this particular time. But we are with Dr. John Tinkran, who is actually the Director General of SNIT currently with us on the most important issues that's happening in this country today. And let me ask you this question. There's some indication that currently we know that some former executives of this particular institution has taken up money from this institution. Some have invested in other, engagements with money from this institution, which is not being paid back, which is not in tune with the laws that you have today. Is this true?
I am not privy to the details of anything like that.
So there isn't any former executive who has actually taken money from the institution in a way that is improper, not in tune with the rules and laws that you have?
That hasn't been brought to my attention.
Not even the immediate past?
No, it hasn't been brought to my attention that there are monies that have been taken that were not in line with the policies. Is that what you are talking about?
Yes.
No, nothing of such sort have been brought to my attention.
Okay, specifically, and this is also because there is a lot of thinking around this particular issue, and many people believe that, for example, there are some executives who are on record, and the current scope of the investigation of Ioko is in that particular direction too.
As I tell you, when I get subpoenas to produce a document, I don't know the intent
of Ioko in doing that.
Yes.
Have you gotten subpoenas to produce documents on previous executives?
I've gotten subpoenas to produce documents on, not particularly on executives, but on procurement, procurement processes. I've gotten subpoenas to produce board minutes. I think I got a subpoena to produce a document on one particular executive, specific to one particular executive. But that was just like the file of the HR file of an executive.
Not your predecessor.
I'd rather not get into that.
No, I mean, people want to know because it is important.
I don't think it's relevant to the matter at issue.
It is. I mean, no. It's about SSNIT. It's about how pension funds is being used.
No. And it's got nothing to do.
Because if you can state it categorically in this particular case, then we know that there is nothing at all in this particular case.
Okay. I think I can tell you
yes.
that I haven't gotten a subpoena to produce a particular file on my predecessor.
Okay, but you've not uncovered anything on your predecessors too?
I have not. I personally?
Yes.
No.
As in the institution has also not done so?
As to?
As in the institution has also not done any investigation that reveals that there was something untoward done by predecessor or previous executives?
No. You see, like I said, there is a statutory body that is looking into this. So I think it would be a waste of, contributors' money to yet get and pay somebody else to look at the same things. No,
I'm talking about when you came in and saw the books.
Yes.
When the initial reviews were being done, what you've been told, is there anything like that?
Initial reviews?
Yes.
Reviews of
as in the institution, when you came in and you had to actually review the books and see whether it was in tune with what the people have said before or the standards were the way it ought to be.
No, when I came in, what I got was, in fact, I was handing over notes. And handing over notes are very sketchy.
Oh, okay.
These are the projects we are doing. This is the state of completion that they are in. And these are the pending issues and so on. And it's just very sketchy, right? And
okay.
And so I haven't had to go and see whether the balance sheet that I've been handed it's actually reflect the reality on the ground or not.
And that nobody has diversified funds into other businesses.
Yeah, because you've
not had a chance to do so.
You wouldn't have.
You've not been briefed about anything like that.
No. I haven't been briefed by anything like that by anybody that, here are documents that says that person A, B, or C has done something that is untoward.
Maybe in a more pointed way, is Mr. Ernest Thompson the subject of any investigation currently going?
I wouldn't know.
Not by IOCO? Not by even the PwC that's currently under your tutelage operating?
I can tell you for sure that PwC is there to do a review, independent review, along the lines of the question that you asked me. The thing that what you saw, did it reflect reality or not? Have you had a chance to vet it or not? I think that is the exercise that PwC will do for us.
Okay. Now, I want us to talk about the future of what they call it, SSNIT. I mean, you don't believe that it should be shut down. So specifically, what are you going to do from now till perhaps the time you leave office that we can hold you by and say that SSNIT was better off, contributors are actually having value for money, and that the money is not being wasted on projects that are questionable?
I think one of the first things that my board chairman told me, he says, John, whenever you come to me to approve something, show me the value for money first. Okay? So and I've said to you that for me, any investment that we get into has to have a positive P&L. It has to be accretive to the trust. On paper, as you know, yes, when you make investments, returns are not guaranteed. Things happen, okay? But at least ex ante, going into the investment, on paper, you have to clear certain hurdle rates, right?
Okay.
And for me, I would come at it from that point of view. I will approach things that way, and I will look at, let's take for example corporate social responsibility. SSNIT went into certain investments that are billed as corporate social responsibility. For me, I say if SSNIT is going to do corporate social responsibility projects, the primary beneficiaries has to be the contributors and the pensioners. I want to make SSNIT a club that everybody will want to join.
Okay.
If the benefits of SSNIT are accruing to the contributors and the pensioners, and everybody outside see that this group are actually getting getting something that their money's worth, it will make it so easy for us to expand coverage, because people who, but for the law, would not give us their money would see that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and they will give us their money. Right now, we have to chase people to give us their money.
Okay.
And that is symptomatic of some of the things that you've said, that people feel like, SSNIT is not living up to its, what it's supposed to be doing. And for me, I want to change that. I want to make money for the trust, and I want to also build a professional organization. Okay.
So the new direction you want to bring to SSNIT, specifically which areas should you be seeing you invest in? Specifically.
I think that it's a little premature to ask me that question, because I need to know what I have now.
Okay.
Because let me tell you something. I can tell you right now that I have a lot of real estate projects that haven't been finished, right? And most of them are at various stages of completion that I have to complete. But if you look at our portfolio, we are overweight per our investment guidelines in real estate.
So what are you going to do? Are you going to continue?
No, there's some of them you have to continue. In fact, you have to look at what you have, and you are if you're between the devil and the deep blue sea, you got to choose one, but you got to choose the better option. And I think that you look at where you are and you say, what's the cost for doing it and what's the cost for not doing it? And you go for the one that gives you a little bit of an uplift.
Okay. My final point to you, and maybe asking you, and we're going back to this OBS system because there's an interest in that area, because it's current, topical, and all of that. And as Thompson has said that he finds nothing wrong with that particular project and how it's run. From where you sit, do you have the same opinion?
No, I think the execution could have been far better. The execution of the
Is it on the financial side alone?
Yeah, well, on the financial side, I also believe yes, because some of the numbers that I see, prima facie, I think are a little bit high, okay? But let's just say that if you go through a tender process and the tender process is supposed to be working right, then what comes out is probably supposed to be what the market was offering at that time, assuming everything is right. You see what I'm saying? So if what comes out is not, you don't like it, then you have to start peeling the layers of the onion to see whether the process itself was flawed or not, okay? Now, with regards to when I say execution, as to scoping a project, knowing that, okay, if I'm going to have to connect between this office and that office in GOS or whatever, I need a certain bandwidth for data to be replicated correctly. You need to be able to calculate that.
Okay, is there a decision on what you're going to do with this project? Is there a decision on that?
I'm going to have to continue. I'm going to have to make it work.
Really?
We paid so much money for it.
So you're going to make more investments to make it work?
No, I'm going to have it fixed. And as I said, I want to get it fixed at little or no cost. And I told you, we've engaged the vendors. We've told them this is what you promised to give us. This is what we have. This is the gap. That gap needs to be filled.
And they have agreed to fill it.
I can say that I have letters that have been written, meetings that we've had, which have been followed up by letters which, some of the vendors have committed that they're going to help us get over this and put it behind us, because we've got a business to run. And I want to be talking to you about the good things that we've been doing for SSNIT, rather than this. So I need to get this fixed, because if I don't get this fixed...
Are there timelines, specific timelines on how we're going to see the change and when you're going to fix this problem?
I think I can tell you that the vendors came to see us, I think maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. We agreed on the rules of engagement. We're supposed to give them all the gaps, things that we need to get done that hasn't been done. And we give it to them. We've done that. They are supposed to review it. I think within the next couple of weeks, they're supposed to come back and sit with us and basically agree on a timeline to get it finished. So, but I think sooner rather than later, we should be home. I mean, all the costs notwithstanding, for me, I believe that we've gone too far. We've gone too far to go back.
Even if it's revealed in the PwC engagement that there was structural problems that cannot be fixed, and the best way to opt out of this particular contract and actually get people prosecuted and go through that particular motion, would you still stick with having to fix it and fix it within time?
I think there are those two items are disjoint. As to people getting prosecuted or not, it's not contingent on whether the thing is going to serve our purpose or not serving our purpose. So I think those two things are disjoint. If PwC came up with a report,
abandon the entire contract, would you still go ahead?
They have to have a very compelling reason that makes that the obvious choice. If that compelling reason is there and it says that you'll be better off abandoning this, because if you go this way, maybe you're looking at another $300 million, then of course the choice is clear. But if they come and they say, oh, okay, you know, there's a trade-off here, and this is what you can do, and that, and you know, then yeah, we'll continue. But I believe that it can be fixed, you know, to serve. Okay,
I get your point, but unfortunately, I've run out of time.
Thank you very much.
Many thanks to you. My guest in the studio today on Upfront has been Dr. John Ofori-Tinkwang, who is the SSNIT boss. We've been talking about what's happening with SSNIT, especially on the revelation that some 72 million and maybe more are still being spent on an automation system currently, which is generating a lot of storm in that particular institution. And he's been sharing thoughts with us. So my name is Raymond Akwa. Many thanks to you for joining us on Upfront today.